All right, everybody, we are live with the Combatcast. It's the man called Dave. It's Chevy. First off, if you're a fan and you like us and you haven't yet, please subscribe. Other than that, we want to get right to it today. We in a holiday week, so let's talk about it. We got a big UFC Fight Night coming up. We're going to talk about some fights just made, including we'll talk about a little bit of dirty boxing and stuff from the weekend. But first things first, Chevy, why don't you tell people what we got coming up?
All right, next week, September 13th, UFC Noche. That's Diego Lopez versus John Silva, 6 p.m. Eastern from San Antonio, Texas. We'll also be talking about the giant boxing fight coming up here, Crawford versus Canelo. Very excited for that one as it draws closer. And then September 20th, we'll be reviewing those fights. There are no UFC fights that weekend, but we'll review the previous week fights, and we're going to give you guys a Mount Rushmore. We're going to pick a division and give you our Mount Rushmores of a particular division in the UFC. And then September 27th, UFC Fight Night, Olberg versus Reyes. Good lightweight or light heavyweight matchup, 10 p.m. from Perth, Australia.
Should be some good fireworks from that one. Yeah, so I'm excited about UFC Noche. That should be a very fun weekend. But let's talk about Around the Ring. Chevy, you mentioned it to me before we came on the air. There was some dirty boxing this weekend. Darren Till and Luke Rockhold and Tony Ferguson fighting as well. And you had mentioned a while back to me about Darren Till. Actually, it seems like he's a pretty good boxer, and that Jake Paul might not want to pick him as a fight. And hey, I'm not saying Rockhold, was going to be a great boxer, but Darren Till did what he was supposed to do this past weekend.
Oh, he dominated him, absolutely dominated him. Yeah, so this was Misfits Boxing 22. I did only catch live the last fight, and I only caught the second and third round. So, but Till did knock Rockhold down in the first round, late in the first round, and could have possibly been stopped there, but Rockhold made the bell and then struggled through round two, and then Till just cornered him, basically cornered him, and then put a combination on him and brutally knocked him out. I mean, it was like one of those ones where he falls backwards and his legs are folded underneath.
Yeah.
Thing, So, Darren Till. He's a monster. He's like killing it since leaving the UFC. Hopefully he's making enough money off these things. But yeah, I would like to see that Jake Paul fight,
I think that's something that could be in his future, actually, honestly, with this performance. It might put him on the radar, especially if Paul ends up not doing so well against Javante or something happens too. I think it even improves Darren Till even more so, given he doesn't have a ton of experience still. I think
he's only 2-0 in just regular, or 3-0 now, maybe, I'm not sure, in regular boxing. So it's not like, he's overqualified to fight Jake Paul. He's just not an old MMA guy.
Right. Yeah, I could see him being interested in that. I could also see him not staying away. Like, hey, this guy doesn't have quite the name, and he's looking a little dangerous right now.
I think, the ratio of danger to name might be a little off for Jake, but it'd be great for Darren Till. I'd love to see him get that payday. Even if Jake was to somehow beat him or whatever, just for him to get paid after, struggle in the UFC and leaving and, making that life-changing money would be great. But yeah, I'd love to see that fight.
Absolutely.
But also on this card, Tony Ferguson, he lost like 8 fights in a row in the UFC or whatever before. So this was his first boxing match, and he fought Salt Poppy, who has done very well in the influencer boxing arena.
Yes.
I think he's undefeated, if I remember correctly. But, Tony did what Tony should have done, and he kind of walked him down. Got a TKO in the third round. I didn't watch the fight, like I said, but I did see the finishing sequence. I don't know how many shots he landed before the finishing sequence, but it was a questionable stoppage. Could have let it go a little bit longer, maybe, but I don't think it was any sort of robbery. I mean, he was taking a bunch of shots, and he's not really a pro boxer, so he doesn't need to be in there just taking head or brain damage. So, but good win for Tony. Hopefully this is a stepping stone to something. I don't know. I'd love to see him stop fighting, but it's a win at least.
Yeah. I mean, I was happy. I saw Tony looked very emotional just to get a win, and good for Tony. Man, I wish he was like doing commentary or something else though, instead of just staging his career right now after so many fights.
I don't want to see Tony Ferguson on commentary. I gotta tell you, no, I don't think so. He's insane. So, could you imagine him and like Dominic Cruz having a disagreement in the commentary booth or something? The guy tried to fight Fedor because they had a disagreement, like
tried to fight Verdun that one time. I know that.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Excuse me, brother. I'm talking. Yeah.
He's gonna ankle pick him. Yeah.
Before we get into this week's fight night, there are a couple of fight announcements, and I'm sure we'll talk about in the future more. But man, you talk about some good ones. UFC 322. Islam Makhachev will go after the welterweight championship. Jack Della Maddalena will be defending that title, and I think Islam is opening up as a slight favorite already.
Really? I mean, he is a pound for pound great at this point, so he's very dominant. I understand. Plus, he is big for lightweight, so the move up to welterweight, we kind of already knew this was going to happen at some point. So. Very interesting matchup though, because JDM's boxing is maybe the best in the UFC. I mean, he's up there for sure. So, and we know he trains with Craig Jones a lot. Craig Jones, self proclaimed Dagestani wrestling, killer, I guess. So we'll see. Very exciting matchup. I think Islam will do very well at welterweight, but will he be as dominant as he was at lightweight? We'll see. Very tough test to start off.
Yeah. One thing I like about Jack Della Maddalena, I was looking at his record just out of curiosity. We were talking about this, and I always talk about guys who sometimes lose their first fight and then go like on a winning streak. He lost his first 2 fights and was finished. Then went on a 16-fight winning streak. He hasn't lost since. Wow, won on Dana White Contender Series and then basically undefeated in UFC and then, wins the championship. So, I mean, he's mentally tough. I guess my point is he's not going to be intimidated by Makhachev. And I think the thing about Makhachev at this weight class is, like you said, he's big for lightweight. I think he'll work out to his advantage. He'll be able to take punches even better, too. But it is an unknown. We don't know. And so it will be very interesting. And JDM definitely has cardio for days as well, too. So,
and he has good anti-wrestling. I mean, we've seen that these like Russian style wrestlers, that anti-wrestling doesn't matter. They're still going to land takedowns and stuff. But
I'd love to see it. I think it's a tough matchup for Makhachev. But it'd be interesting. I mean, hey, in a perfect world, I almost think it'd be Makhachev wins the welterweight title, has a few defenses. Ilya defends lightweight. Makhachev goes up to middleweight, wins the middleweight championship. Ilya wins the welterweight, and then they finally meet, almost like a super boxing fight years later at middleweight, where Makhachev is probably a little bigger, but Ilya is probably in a better fight. It's just it could be a great super fight.
Ilya is pretty short. I know, he's like pretty heavily muscled, but he's pretty short. I don't know if welterweight's really in his future, so we'll see. It would be a good story. I for sure you would hear a lot of Islam's running kind of talk.
Oh, for sure.
It goes up to middleweight. Yeah.
And then co-main event for that card too. I think a good fight we had talked about before on this podcast, even that we'd love to see. It looks like it's happening. Weili Zhang vacating the strawweight championship. I believe that's already official too, and she will go up and fight Valentina Shevchenko for the flyweight championship. It's an interesting matchup. I could see Valentina just wanting to try to take her down, wrestle her. I think Weili has the tools to stop that, but again, much like we talked about Islam going up, Weili is going up a weight class, so it'll be interesting. One thing I didn't know about in looking at this too was Weili is 36, Valentina is 37. I didn't realize they were so close in age because Valentina, I feel like I've been watching fight forever. Whereas
she had a
Whaley,
long MMA
yeah,
career before, or a long Muay
combat
Thai
sport.
career
Yeah.
before too. Yeah, so
So that'll be an interesting fight. Great Madison Square Garden card in terms of like hardcore fights being made. So I feel like in the pay-per-view era, while we still have it, this is about as enticing as we're going to get right now in terms of not having a super fight, but having two very big skilled, having some of the most skilled fighters fighting each other on the same card.
yeah, women's MMA in general needs this fight also. Not the most exciting right now. They're just kind of in a lull. Also with Zhang vacating the title, that means I believe Vanderoba and Mackenzie Dern are going to be fighting for the vacant belt. So
Yes, that's true. I did hear that. I don't know if it's on the same card. I don't think.
I don't know. I don't think so, but
Yeah, that's coming up. All right, let's get to this fight night. Fighting nerds all over this thing, main event and co-main event. So let's talk about it. UFC Fight Night.
yeah, on the prelims, looking forward to William Gomes versus Robert Rucala. I think that's how it's named. I'm not or pronounced. I'm not sure, but he's a KSW flyweight champ coming over. This is his UFC debut. William Gomes is dangerous striker, but he is like 5 UFC fights, 3 split decisions. So I think he's going to get tested in this one, and I would pick Robert to get a finish actually. But UFC debuts are notoriously tough, so we'll see. Also on the undercard, Patricio Pitbull is fighting someone who I don't know. I guess I'm interested in Pitbull fights. I think he's kind of done at this point. Not super exciting fights so far in the UFC, but he's not fighting anyone at the level he has been fighting. So this guy doesn't even have a picture on the UFC website yet.
And it's not a pay-per-view. It's on a fight night, so it's interesting.
And he's on the prelims. Yeah, he's on the prelims where he belongs, honestly. So,
but he could also turn it around. I mean, get a cut. If he can have an exciting fight here and stuff too, like maybe this is something where he can put himself in a position. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah, his stock has not been terribly exciting after losing his debut and then having a very less than spectacular win. So we'll see how it goes. But let's get to this main event.
Well, also on the card, I want to point out Modestas Bukauskas versus Paul Craig. So keep an eye on that one. Striker versus grappler. Obviously, Paul Craig will pull guard. All he cares about is grappling, except for when he fought Bo Nickel, obviously. So
yeah,
I bet he gets beat up for a while, eventually gets to the ground and chokes Bukauskas out, but we'll see. But yeah, co-main event here. Couple of very exciting fights here. Also, this main card starts at 3 p.m. Eastern because it's from Paris, France. So we like that here on the East Coast. Interesting. Co-main event: Benoit Saint-Denis versus Mauricio Ruffy.
Ruffy is 12-1, 11 KOs, 1 decision, 3-0, coming off a spectacular spinning wheel kick over King Green too. He's also part of the Fighting Nerds camp, which we've been talking a lot about. Benoit Saint-Denis, 14-3-1, 4 KOs, 10 subs, 6-3 in the UFC, 2-2 in his last 4 fights, 2 performances of the night. Fighting the night twice. He's a dynamic fighter. This should be fun. Should be some fireworks. I like Ruffy here, I think. That he might lose, but, this is a step up for Mauricio more than anybody. But that Fighting Nerds training camp, all those guys seem to come in so well prepared. And I don't know. I just got a feeling he's going to get a finish here, round 2, TKO.
Ruffy fights in an exciting style. He's been very dominant, but he hasn't fought a real grappler yet in the UFC also. So, plus Ruffy's cardio is suspect. So I think he's going to go for the early KO, but BSD will be there closing inside of that spinning kick range for sure. He's going to be trying to get in real close and just putting constant pressure on him. Lots of clinching and takedowns. And he has a very aggressive submission game when he gets to the ground. So there is a very good chance that Ruffy lands early and gets a KO, but I'm going to pick BSD to take Ruffy deep into deep water and get a submission later. I don't like picking against the Fight Nerds guys because I'm a big fan of them and think they're great. But I'll say a round 3 submission for BSD in France, his home country. So, excuse me. All right, moving on. Main event here. Potential title implications. Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho.
All right, Caio Borralho is 17-1-1, 5 KOs, 4 subs, 8 decisions, 7-0 in the UFC. He's won twice on the Dana White Contender Series as well, just to note that. Fighter of the night 1 time, performance of the night 2 times, and Imavov is 16-4-1, 7 KOs, 4 subs, 5 decisions, 8-2-1 in the UFC. He's won 4 in a row. In particular, impressive about this, he's coming off victories over Adesanya, Brendan Allen, Jared Kinnear, and Roman Dolidze. So, he's stacking up the biggest names of his career. He's also coming off his first performance of the night. He's a great test here, but I think he's probably going to lose this fight by. I'll say it goes to full 5 rounds. I'll say it's decision.
Yeah, interesting matchup. If either guy has a statement win, they can make an argument for a title shot versus Kazma. So both guys pretty well rounded. I'd give a power advantage to Borralho, but Imavov has the most important intangible in fighting. It's will or heart or fight IQ or something, whatever it is. He just figures out how to do enough to get a win. So again, I hate picking against my guys, the Fight Nerds, and I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to pick Imavov by decision as well. Okay,
I feel like it will go to distance, but I think Imavov will lose the decision, but we will see.
If anyone's going to get a finish, I imagine it'll be Borralho.
That's what I would think too, yeah. But we shall see. I think it should be a fun fight. Definitely interesting and definitely some high-level MMA in the co-main event and main event. That co-main event, we'll see. It's going to be an interesting test for Ruffy, like we said. He'll be taking a step up. But, all right, let's talk about what we got coming up one more time.
All right, September 13th, UFC Noche, Lopez versus Silva, 6 p.m. from San Antonio, Texas. We'll also be talking about Crawford versus Canelo. And then September 20th, we'll be picking another division and doing our individual Mount Rushmores for those divisions.
Hey, let's do heavyweights, by the way. Let's just say it.
Heavyweights? All right. Heavyweights it is. And then September 27th, UFC Fight Night, Olberg versus Reyes, 10 p.m. from Perth, Australia.
All right. Sounds good.